And welcome back into Good Morning Maine.
We are here with Michael Gorman. He is a playwright, writer, director, installation and experimental theater artist, and he's the founder of production company, the 40 Hour Club. Michael, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you very much for having me.
So I was interested in having you on to discuss your work for the last 2 decades had centered around the opiate epidemic, specifically within New England's fishing community. Can you discuss the work that you've been doing this year around that topic?
Yes, we just had a big production at the Colonial Theater in Augusta, Maine, which is a theater that's undergoing a rejuvenation and restoration. It was called the Ahab Inside Me. It was the latest installation in our performance arts and advocacy model called Chasing the New White Whale. It's an ongoing series of full-blown productions, presentations, installations that we created so we could directly reach communities large and small that are being impacted and devastated by the ongoing opiate crisis. Yeah.
So this inspiration for Chasing the New White Whale, and it's the inspiration has to do with how the opiate epidemic specifically affects the commercial fishing industry. But does this have to do with Moby Dick, and all these inspirations are colliding here?
Yes, it draws a metaphor from Moby Dick, Herman Melville's great epic novel, and it makes a metaphor of Ahab being an addict and the white whale being an allusion to opium or heroin, its contemporary scourge. It could be fentanyl now.
Yep.
But he loses his leg to the white whale, and he keeps pursuing white whale the way an addict will keep pursuing that first high that they can never really recover. So it's kind of a tragic, destructive pursuit. And then, of course, everybody around them who's involved suffers the consequences as well.
Right, as we know.
I was inspired for the death of my own brother, who was a commercial fisherman out of Gloucester, New Bedford, Massachusetts. Died of a heroin overdose, accidental overdose in 1998. It inspired me to write about it, and it just kind of created a path of destiny for me that I've been pursuing ever since. Written a trilogy of plays called The Honor and Glory of Whaling. We took those out of the New York theater, started to bring them back home to Maine and New England, and we created Chasing the New White Whale. And here we were recently in Augusta, Maine, of all places, and we seem to have found a home there.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about that, how it's both important for the Colonial Theater itself and for you guys in expanding the production company and the plays that you've released most recently?
Yeah, it's a great partnership there, and Richard Parkhurst is the president of the board of directors there. And my house is only 25 minutes from there, and I've just been kind of exploring it, and there's a great vibe in that community now, and there's such interest in the theater to restore it. They have a great board of directors, but all the focus is on the building, and they didn't really have anybody to bring a dynamism to what happens inside. And so Richard kind of recruited me, and vice versa, and we created a partnership. And we went in there. He just gave me the key to the theater, and we did what he's been, I think, dreaming about for a while. And so now we created a great interim space while they're finishing their project, and we're pursuing Chasing the New White Whale.
Gotcha. So this most recent play, can you give us kind of, not an overview, but can you describe it a little bit? This just ended, correct, recently?
Yes, yeah.
Gotcha.
And it was like a premiere of 3 shows we did. Next year we'll be doing an extended run. We'll have a full year to promote it and really draw from across the state. It's called The Ahab Inside Me, and it focuses on the specter of overdose and then the administration of Narcan to bring people back. So that the thrust of the recovery community right now is to keep people alive, and so that then they can seek treatment, and we can deal with that. So the Ahab Inside Me has we deal with we bring somebody back, a fisherman who has suffered a non-fatal overdose,
wow.
And we get to see them then take their first step toward treatment and be accepted into the community and on a positive note. But I've heard the roots of addiction come from quite often just untreated mental illness. And I've heard depression described once as violence turned inward. And so the Ahab Inside Me is this kind of violent character who hasn't dealt with his own issues, really.
Yep.
And how that gets internalized stigma, and how destructive that is to the person dealing with it. So breaking the stigma is a huge thing, where people will then not feel bad about seeking treatment, and that was probably the biggest thing we encounter, and that I think we overcome in these productions and performances.
Yeah, and what a powerful and poignant way to express that with the actors themselves knowing very personally the struggles going on with that stigma and overcoming that stigma.
Yeah, we've incorporated at least half our cast are people who have either are in active recovery, have been for a long time. We had one person from the community that we brought in who relapsed briefly, but joined us because he felt supported by the whole cast.
What a cool way to do recovery too. You need a community. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's he said. He said I wouldn't have come if I didn't have this cast and the wonderful energy of the theater community. I wouldn't have come back. So I think that's just theater can be such an example of that kind of positive, open, creative change. You know.
Yeah.
And I think the creative element is what's missing from a lot of the efforts that are made. Great efforts in legislature, bureaucratic, administrative, but we need a new creative approach to addiction. You know, the thing that opens up the heart and opens up dialogue, and then we can win minds after that.
And being approachable. I mean, that's a major thing when we talk about mental health and dealing with substance abuse, is having some place or some people that are approachable who have dealt with these things in the past. Having that connection really helps it go a long way.
What's more approachable than a performance? Like a play.
Right, and our actors stay on stage afterward. They're approachable. You can talk. They can talk to them. It humanizes it. And it also gives them an articulate thing to respond to. Say, when that actor was going through that, that's just like what I went through, or what my aunt went through, who was a fisherman. So it gives them a very specific thing to be articulate about and open up conversation, other people to join in.
Wow. Yeah, and it's National Recovery Month, right? That's what it's. Yeah, so this is also relevant, and you'll be doing it all again next year. When does it start up again next year?
Well, we're not sure. We just met with Richard yesterday. We're looking at like a 1-month residency, which would be 2 weeks of rehearsal, 2 weeks of performance. We're going to try to do it earlier so that we can then launch to New Bedford, possibly to do a combination 1-2 punch.
Nice.
New Bedford's kind of our regional Broadway performance.
Yeah.
It's the most historic fishing port and mythical in that place in Homer Moby Dick. But probably July is what I'm thinking right now, is what the theater undergoes some renovations in the late spring, and it'll be open for performance after that.
That's exciting.
Bring
me to Manhattan.
Exactly. And for people who want to keep up with this story and look for when those come out, do you have a website or anything they can get in touch with?
Yes, it's 40-hour club, but there's the numbers here, but it's spelled out FORTYHOURCLUB.com. We have everything on there. Donna, my partner and co-director of the 40-hour club, co-creator of Chasing the White Whale, has done an amazing job. We've got a great website, and you can reach us there as well.
Awesome. Yep, I found it easily. That's how I found you. Yep.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure. We'll throw it over for one last look at your full weather forecast.